And we begin tonight with 55 days to go until Election Day, with early voting starting even sooner. And last night, Vice President Kamala Harris delivered a masterclass in how to stick the landing in a debate. It all started in those first few seconds with that power move handshake and Harris introducing herself to Trump, perhaps because it was the first time the two have been face to face, or maybe so she could, let him hear the proper way to pronounce her name. And from then on, she kept laying the bait, and Trump just kept falling for it.
What you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics.
World leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that.
You talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her.
And that's pretty much how it went all night, with Trump stuck on the ropes, unable to regain his footing. And as I said last night, Trump got destroyed in this debate for one main reason. Not because the debate was rigged, as Trump has already claimed, or because the moderators were mean to him. It was because he cannot control his own mind. His performance was so bad that even his pals on Fox had to admit it.
Make no mistake about it. Trump had a bad night.
I don't think the American people are watching and thinking any of these people won. This was rough.
He took all the bait and none of the opportunities.
Did Donald Trump miss a few opportunities? Absolutely.
Trump's own lapdog Senator Lindsey Graham told the Bulwark Tim Miller that Trump's performance was a disaster and that his debate team should be fired. Sure, Lindsey, not Trump's fault at all. It was the people around him. The fact that it was a poor night for Donald must not have been lost on him, because how else do you explain him running to the spin room last night after the debate ended? The last 24 hours has all been about spin for the Trump campaign, to try and put lipstick on a pig and point the fingers everywhere else, anywhere else, in fact. This morning, Trump baselessly suggested, that Vice President Harris was given the questions beforehand.
They had a rigged show with somebody that maybe even had the answers. I mean, I'll be honest. I watched her talk, and I said, she seems awfully familiar with the questions, and you get pretty good at that stuff after a while.
Yeah. No, Donald. You know what that's called? That's called being prepared. Perhaps you should, think about that for next time. Maybe give it a shot. Joining me now is Jelani Cobb, Dean of Columbia University School of Journalism and MSNBC contributor. Olivia Troy, member of Republicans for Harris and former senior advisor to Vice President Mike Pence. Hugo Lowell, senior political correspondent for The Guardian. And Tommy Vietor, co-host of Pod Save America and Pod Save the World and co-author of Democracy or Else: How to Save America in 10 Easy Steps. Well, glad they're easy. We're going to have to get to that. We're going to talk about that book at some point, Tommy, because we're like, we got to save democracy, and if it's 10 steps, I'm with it. But I want to come to the table first. I want to first get you as the head of the Columbia School of Journalism. I love reminding people that you are the boss of the Columbia School of Journalism, which is pretty awesome. How the debate went, David Muir and Lindsey Davis, how'd they do, in your view?
I thought this was one of the best moderated debates I've ever seen.
I agree.
They were consistent, they were professional.
Yeah.
And one of the narratives has been around how frequently Donald Trump took the bait from Kamala Harris. I think one of the lesser discussed things is the fact that the moderators never took any bait.
Right.
That they continued, when he deflected, they would follow up. and that's one of the other things that people fail to do. Often with Donald Trump, he will give a non-answer and they'll just move on to the next question. They didn't do that. They did a judicious amount of fact-checking, so it wasn't intrusive, and they were like a referee in a boxing match where, you were there just to make sure that everyone is adhering to the rules, and then you're invisible.
Yeah.
It was just a banner example of how an event like that should be moderated.
Absolutely. And, I mean, they didn't always get an answer to their questions. Let me just play this. This is the little mash of Trump refusing to answer questions.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came to your
Well, I won't
desk?
have to.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. in all fairness.
Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care. Always was. It's not very good today.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan.
And even though they didn't get answers to the questions, they were persistent in fact-checking when he said something bizarre.
Right. And even when they didn't get an answer, it was obvious to the viewing public that he had not answered.
Right. Yes,
and so
they
the
made it
follow-up
clear.
was just to say, okay, this guy's not going to answer
You're not going to answer the question.
Right.
Let me play another clip. Olivia, you were there. You were in the room. This is, one of the best answers, I think, from Vice President Harris. It was a really strong answer, and it was about the abortion question after Donald Trump lied, as Lawrence O'Donnell put it, his biggest lie of saying that all of America, Democrats, Republicans, independents, everybody wanted abortion returned to the states. Here was Vice President Harris's response.
One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that.
Olivia, one of the things that Vice President Harris is going to have to do in order to win this election is to move over as many suburban white women voters as she can. How effective was that answer and her overall performance, in your view, in trying to do that, including Republican and independent women?
I think it was incredibly impactful. And I'll tell you this, like watching her on that debate stage as she spoke about the situation and the issue in that way, I think resonates with American people, American families, and female voters. And I'll tell you, I'm glad that she spoke about faith and the way she delivered this on that stage, because I have seen her engage Republican women voters in Michigan. I've seen her do this in person where she talks about this issue. And it is so incredibly impactful the way she does it, because people feel like she is meeting them there, conservative women. She's meeting them halfway and talking about it the way we do, right? As people, the way we talk to each other, the way we talk to our friends. And I'll tell you, I was in Arizona last week meeting with Republican women voters on reproductive rights. And I was there with Hadley Duvall. And just having these conversations one-on-one with some of these women, there was a lot of emotion about what's happening around the country. And I think the way that Kamala Harris delivered that last night really resonates, because that's how women are feeling right now.
Yeah, and it is something that she has to do, because, getting even a small percentage, a small movement of white women voters to get closer to 50-50 is really the ball game. Hugo, you've reported to us before that the Trump strategy was basically, put your two fingers in your ears and pray that he does well in the debate. Well, that didn't happen. He didn't do well in the debate. What are they saying now?
Yeah, look, it's a universal acknowledgement that it was a bad night last night. They won't say it publicly, of course, but privately, multiple people on the Trump campaign were telling me through the night that, he sounded off, he sounded bad, he sounded rattled, and that basically he couldn't shake his anger. There was one Trump aide that I texted, and it really kind of summed it up for me, which was them saying, well, tonight was will they benefit us? Like, no, it will not. It will not benefit us. This will not convince any undecided voters to come to our side. This will not convince any independents to come to our side. And there was such a colossal missed opportunity. And the one thing that the Trump campaign was really kind of upset about and kind of disappointed about was they had prepped so many immigration-related responses, and Trump ultimately delivered none of them. He got kind of, as you pointed out, he got sidetracked and kind of obsessed with this whole Haitian immigrants eating pets thing, and they had prepped an outcome for that. And as the debate prep went, what he was supposed to do was to say, well, you know, this is the story that's been coming out of Springfield, and then pivot to attacking Harris on the effects of illegal immigration on crime. Instead, he got bogged down in this. He got baited by Harris repeatedly, couldn't let it go, and then ended up arguing with the moderators. And the number of faceplant emojis that I got from Trump aides last night, I can't describe to you what a missed opportunity everyone thinks it was.
Maybe they just should have sat in front of him and said the word crowd size 400 times until he got over it. That maybe he could, you know, get numb to it, because the minute she said crowd size, that was the end of his mental stability.